right now I've got all my notes ready because I'm going to tell you exactly how much food we harvested from our farm in 1 year, how much income we make, and how much we spent. Did we earn a profit? All that coming up right now in today's video. Is this homesteading venture working for us? Are we making a profit? Are we becoming more sustainable? One way we can measure that is by actually checking out all of our expenses and income for each venture and breaking it down. So here we go. I might need to put on my glasses because I have to read. Last year on our farm, we harvested 729 dozen eggs, 550 pounds of produce for human consumption, 36 pounds of vegetables that went to the animals, 650 pounds of pork, 344 pounds of beef, that's actually the meat, cuts, and 60 pounds of rabbit. The first venture I'm going to talk about is actually the first thing we started doing on our farm, and that's our egg cell business. We have 60-ish laying hens, and last year we fed them 162 bags of feed. That's 8,100 pounds of feed, and we spent $1,885 on chicken feed last year, and an additional $167 on scratch or corn, for a total of $2,052 in feed costs for our chicken. I sell our eggs for $3 a dozen, which is about the most I can get around here. And at that price, we earned $2,057 in egg sales. So I brought in $2,057, and our feed costs were $2,052. I made $5, and that's not counting the money that I spent on egg cartons. In addition to that, we spent $375 in feeders, brooders, and other supplies, light bulbs, different things like that. So we actually lost money on eggs this year. So this is going to be something that we're going to have a discussion about. There's a couple things that play into this. We were buying Texas Naturals non-GMO feed, which we love. And when we started buying it, it was around $16, $17 a bag. Last year, when we stopped buying it, it was over $25 per bag. And that was at the same time the pandemic hit. So my hours of work went down, and the price of feed had gone up so much we just couldn't afford it any longer. So the feed that we're buying now is from our local feed store. It's just regular feed, and it's about $9 a bag at time of filming, which is a significant savings, over $25 a bag. But it's also gone up a lot because it was closer to $6 or $7 a bag last year when we started buying it. So I'm going to have to make a decision that I'm either going to cut back on my egg sales or raise prices, and I may kind of leave that up to my customers. I may reach out to them because we're losing money. Now, the other thing, though, is that typically our egg sales have led to other farm sales. So almost anybody wants farm fresh eggs. It's pretty easy to find egg customers for me. I have had really good luck. My customers love my eggs. They, when I need more customers, I just put the word out and they ask their friends. So I usually have a wait list for my eggs. And when we go to sell our beef or our pork, those are the people I reach out to first. So in that way, they kind of bring customers to us because we have this reputation as providing a really quality farm fresh egg. But I don't know that it's worth my delivery time. I'm probably spending more in gas, and it's probably costing me more money because we deliver our eggs direct to the customer's door. So that's something that we're going to take into consideration going forward. I also did just buy a bunch of new chicks this year, and I've got olive eggers and blue eggers and leghorns. So I've increased my laying flock by about 20 more hens. And what am I going to do with all of those girls if I don't sell eggs? So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. But chickens did not make a profit this year for us. Our next farm venture that I want to talk about is our pigs. So we purchased 4 pigs for $10 each as piglets. We fed them 132 bags of feed. That comes to a total of 6,600 pounds of feed. We paid $1,222 in feed costs, and we had to pay the butcher. We kept 1 pig to butcher ourselves, and then we sold the other 3 pigs to customers. So The way that we sell our animals, and the way you can do most live animals nationwide, and I think it's similar in most states. Each state has their own regulations, but you can't sell meat products. Like, I can't sell you pork chops or ground pork sausage unless it has been processed in a USDA inspected facility. In that case, that costs more to the consumer end cost because the butcher fees are higher because you're paying for that certification. What we can do is when we drop our pigs off at butcher, let's say you're buying the pig from me and they weigh that pig and you're going to have half of it. So the pig weighs 280 pounds. Your half of that is 140 pounds of live pig. I'm going to charge you $3.50 per pound times 140. I can't really do math that fast. That's going to be $300, $420 and whatever, somewhere over $320 for this pig. No, $420 for your half of the pork. And then now that pig is yours. It goes into the butcher. I go to the front desk and I say, this half of this pig, XYZ pig, is going to my friend. This is their name and they're going to call you. And then you call the butcher and the butcher asks you, how much of it do you want in ground sausage? Do you want ham? Do you want ribs? And you get to choose your cuts of meat. And sausage is the least expensive cut to get. And so some people just want it all in sausage. Some people, they want the bacon, they want the ribs, they want the pork loin. That's us. We want all the cuts. And so the more you have done to it, the more it costs. Are you going to add seasoning? Are you going to have any of it cured? All of that is a little additional cost. So then in the end, when you bring home your portion of your pork, it ends up costing I'm just going to guess because I haven't done the math on per pig this year, but $5 or $6 per pound, which is expensive if you think that you're paying, like $5 a pound for the ground sausage that you're getting, but you think $5 a pound for a premium pork loin on pasture raised pork, that's a super deal. So overall you come out ahead and you have a freezer full of pork that you know how it was raised. We spent $1,222 in feed, and our income was $1,248 in live pig sales for the 3 we sold. That's only a profit of about $26. However, the one pig that we took to butcher brought us 165 pounds of meat. Now, at grocery store prices, that's going to be between $4.50 to $15 a pound, depending on which cut of meat we got. And this is for pasture-raised pork. So when you think about it, we spent about $25 plus our butcher fee. So let's say we spent $150 total on this pig for 164 pounds of meat. That's less than $1 per pound that we spent to get a freezer full of meat that we know how it was raised. Happy meat tastes better. We're happy with that. The next venture that we had this year was beef. We raised a butcher steer. Going into the butcher steer, he wasn't calved here on our farm, so we paid $800 for an Angus steer. We spent $251 in feed, but that was divided among 5 head of beef. So his cost was $50 in feed. We spent $150 in hay because we ran out of hay this year. And so divided by the 5 head of beef, he cost us $30 in hay. So we had $880 going in when we took him to the butcher, plus we had to pay for our part of the butcher fee. We sold half the beef, and our income off this beef was $860 for this half of beef. So again, we spent about $20 more than we brought in for him. However, plus the butcher fee, which was probably close to $200 for him. So we'll call it $225, we'll say fair. But our half beef in our freezer yielded us about 170 pounds of meat. At grocery store prices for grass-fed beef, that's between $7.50 and $19 a pound. So you're paying a little bit more on the hamburger end. So if we had $170 and we spent $250, we have 172 pounds of meat, and we spent about $250. So it's a little over $1 per pound that we spent to get prime grass-fed beef in our freezer that's going to last for a long time. Now, there are other costs associated with raising beef though. For example, last year we spent $1,000 in fencing. We added a lot of electric fencing. We had to get a new fence charger, lots of things that we did, some special tools, things like this. So even though we spent that last year, I'm not going to count all of that against this one beef that we butchered, because that fencing, those things that we bought, are going to last over multiple years. So let's say that we have that fence set up for the next 5 years. So if you divide that into that $1,000, that's $200 per year, and we had 5 cows. You divide that by 5, that's $40. So we will count an additional $40 that it cost us to raise him to butcher. So it still wasn't that much. We still came out ahead if you consider the amount of beef that we have in our freezer. Another thing we have to think about is we had to buy him, but this year we had a boy calf born who has been banded, so he's now going to be a steer, and he's going to be raised for butcher. So our cost going in for him is zero, except for the little bit of feed. And this guy that we just butchered, we spent like $80 in feed, plus $40, right, for the fencing, we'll call it that. So if we do roughly the same on this little steer that was just calved on our own farm, he's going to be $150 max, $125 cost going in, plus butcher fees. And then if we sell half of him, then what we get back is going to actually be a lot more profit than what we profited off the steer that we had to pay out of pocket for. So our beef venture actually is probably more profitable than our chickens and our pigs, but it takes longer because it takes almost 2 years to get a steer grown big enough for a butcher, to get a butcher ready steer. So it's a long-term game, but it is definitely profitable. The next farm venture that I'm going to talk about is our rabbits. Our rabbits, we bought 30 bags of feed, which is 1,500 pounds of feed that went into our rabbits for a total of $511. That is including $368 in feed and there was $511 total feed cost, including $368 in feed and $143 in Timothy hay. Remember I told you we ran out of our own hay, so I had to buy hay for the rabbits also this year. And we had that same issue where we were buying expensive bags of feed that were about $17 a bag, and now we're paying about $7 a bag. So this year our rabbit feed costs will be less. We won't have to buy the hay. We have our own, and we're buying a less expensive feed for them. We sold $70 in live rabbit sales, and we butchered about 20 rabbits for our personal use. So that would have been, let's see, at our farmer's market, the butchered rabbits sell for $8 each. In Missouri, you can sell butchered rabbits and chicken without having a USDA facility, but not the larger animals like pigs and beef and stuff. At $8 each, that would have been about $160 in our freezer, plus the $70 in live rabbit sales. That's $230, right? Yeah, $230, and we spent over $500. So our rabbits actually cost us money, but again, we're getting grass. Our rabbits are raised in tractors. They're happy, and we don't eat chicken, so we did not have to buy chicken at the store. We don't eat chicken because of my husband's gout. That's his worst trigger of all. So rabbits are like our chicken. We have about one every other week. And the more I get into raising veggies for the animals, the less feed we can buy, things like that. I think that we may end up making money on the rabbits if I sell some more live rabbits. So we'll see how that goes. But right now, rabbits are not making us money, but we're going to keep doing it. Rabbits are an easily renewable meat source. And they also, it gives variety, and we really like it. It's a lean meat. It's healthy for you. So we're going to keep doing rabbits for now. Okay, the garden. I spent $477 in the garden, and those expenses were things like soil, grow lights, heat mats, seeds, weed fabric, organic bug control, and compost. Now, again, the heat mats, the weed fabric, the grow lights, those are things that are going to last over time. So I probably should have had those separate and kind of itemized it over 5 years or 6 years. I don't know how long those things are going to last. So our expenses per year were actually lower, but I wasn't able to do that. And we had $155 in produce sales. Now, here's the thing. I think that each year my gardening costs should go down because I don't have to add more structure and things. Then my gardening costs go down, and as my gardening skills increase, then my sales should go up. So I think gardening will become more and more profitable the better I get at it. But don't forget that we can't just count the sales as income, because we harvested 540 pounds of vegetable for our use and for sales combined. Now, I had a sheet where I broke down like how many watermelons and how much they weighed and how many, like each time I harvested something, I wrote it down, and it's not a sheet, it's about 10 pages long. And I just honestly, putting these numbers together took me so long, I didn't feel like I had the time or energy to itemize all of that out. And so I don't have any idea what kind of a value to put on the produce that we ate. Because there was lettuce, which weighs almost nothing, and there was melons, which weigh a lot, and everything in the produce section costs something different. It's not like pork, where I feel like I could find a pretty easy average. So, but 540 pounds, I mean, even if we did half of that, we'll say $250, $275 plus the $155 in sales. So 275, 375, 380, $430. We pretty much broke even in the garden. And I think that those numbers, like I said, will continue where it becomes more and more profitable the better at gardening I get. There's more numbers to come, because on the farm we also had a lot of other expenses that I did not itemize to any one venture. And I'm just going to read this list right now of other farm expenses so you can kind of understand where I'm coming from. We leased this property, these 2.5 acres, from my mom. So we have a monthly lease of the property. Part of our electric bill runs the well and all the electric cords that goes out to keep the animals comfortable. You know, I have fans on the rabbit cages in summer, all that kind of stuff. Lots of bungee cords, lots and lots of them. Tarps, a planter for the year, bleach, hoses, quick disconnects, Y connectors, sprayers, syringes for administering medicine, tank valves. We bought fruit trees for our orchard, new tires for our riding mower that we use to pull our little trailer around when we're doing farm work, stuff for our beehives. And I didn't sell any honey last year because our harvest was minimal, and so that was all like a negative. Although honey is a high profit thing, once you actually get some, it sells pretty quick, but beehive equipment is expensive. I bought a gorilla cart, a fence tool, a trailer hitch for our mower, a boot scrubber, a tank de-icer, an electric fence charger, a headlamp, T-post, 5-gallon bucket, screws, and other hardware, on and on and on. A lot of the fencing stuff I did actually assign to the cows because they're the ones mainly who live in the fencing. So on our Schedule F, our total farm expenses that we claimed was $12,708, $4,031 of which was feed. So that leaves about $8,000 in other farm expenses. My total farm income, including all the ventures I listed, plus income from the YouTube channel, was $5,572. So that is a net loss of about $7,000, right? However, remember all the meat in our freezer? So I took the pork and I looked at the pork and the beef, and I looked at these images that I'm going to show you. This is USDA's report of July 30th of this year, which lists the going price for grass-fed beef and for pastured pork direct to consumer sales. So from farm to consumer. So if I were to sell to you my grass-fed pork, the prices, and it has a list, a low end and a high end of what actual food meat sold for that week. So I took that high end and low end and I took the average number, and then I times it by the amount of pounds of meat I have in the freezer, and that value came out to $4,036 worth of meat in our freezer. So that is $4,036 plus that $5,500. So we have about $9,550, a little more, $9,560. Hey, bud, back up. Lay down, my dog. Lay down. You are wet. You've been in the duck pool. Lay down. Duke, down. Lay down. Stay. So I've got about, between income that we actually saw in monetary income plus the meat in our freezer, that total is around $9,560 of value. So that's still less than the $12,000 we spent. However, a lot of things we bought that we did our infrastructure. We built a new chicken coop, which will last for years and years. We got this fencing, which will last for years and years. So that other $3,000 is not necessarily, even though we spent it all last year, it's not all necessarily going to be used up in last year. It's not necessarily things that are going to be recurring charges every year. So as we get more infrastructure in place, as we gain skills and knowledge about raising animals and growing our own food, then our expense to profit hopefully is going to switch pretty soon, where we're actually making more in profit. Oh, and then also not calculated in that is whatever it would have cost me to buy all that produce, because I don't even know like what sort of a value to place on that, right? So that would bring it up even closer. Then that's also, counts into our profit. So did we make money on our farm? Yes. Yes, we earned $5,000 on our farm. Did we make a profit on the farm? No, not at all. Not at all. Which is our most profitable venture? Right now, it is definitely beef. Beef is our most profitable venture, but it's good to have well-rounded multiple sources of income. I was actually surprised. I really would have thought that our rabbits were our most profitable venture, but they weren't. The beef really were. So I hope this was as informative for you as it was for me. I really learned a lot by doing this. This year is not going to be at all the same, because this year we didn't have a garden. I started out with grand hopes, and if you want to know all about that, click right here and you can watch the video that tells you why our garden progress just went to a screeching halt.